added here. There's a bunch of instruments. The water then flows through here around to these pumps. And then the heart of the treatment plant is right here. These are our filter pumps, or I'm sorry, our filters. Water is pumped from the filter feed pump station down through into here, then down about a half a mile of pipe down to our finished water storage reservoir, and from there it goes out to your home. So the plant, like you said, has got a 1 MGD capacity. Right now on a big day during the summer, we do, a big day is like 700,000 gallons a day. So we're about 70% capacity. I'll talk a little bit, but as long as we have the photo up here, over the years the board has worked, I think, very smartly in both increasing the capacity to the extent that, not for so much for growth, but to make it more reliable, right? It's like driving a small car really fast on the freeway versus an engine that's designed to move. Your water demands have gone up significantly over the years as demographics has changed in yards and whatnot. So these two filters, we used to just have two little filters right here. And way back, we were able to get this for about $5,000 from the Department of Fish and Game up at Clear Lake. And actually $7,000, we rehabbed it completely. And then we went up and negotiated, and they gave us that one for $5,000. And but it was a full rehab of the interiors of them. So two very nice new filters have been put in, and those kind of drive the treatment plant. I can talk all day about that. But anyway, that's kind of the plant in of itself. We'll talk a little bit. We have some photos of it. So, and then,
okay, and this is just a general map of the boundaries of Christian Valley and the communities and tracts that we serve. Now, there are homes in here that are on well, but
how many?
I mean,
How many?
oh, I don't know how many are on wells. We have 626 that we serve here in that community. I'm just saying that there's other houses that are not serviced by Christian Valley Water. Okay, so that's kind of it for the overview of the board and the treatment plan. So next slide. We want to talk about kind of some of the projects that we're working on currently, and that that we're funding from the previous rate increase, so that people are kind of aware of the work that we're doing.
so
Jerry, you want to
okay,
cover these?
so the treatment plant is what's called a surface water treatment plant, and so you get whatever comes down the ditch, dead deer, runoff from stormwater, you name it, it's in it. It's not like a groundwater treatment system where you just pump it up and get rid of it. Through the years, the board has continually maintained and upgraded that water treatment plant, and I think it's more sane, not to increase capacity of the system. I mean, you are all residents. There's not money being spent to increase capacity. And the filters we were able to upsize just because we got a great deal on bigger filters. But as people move in and want to add, demand to the system, they buy into the system. They pay a fee to increase the capacity of it. So over time, instruments have been changed out, pumps have been changed out. The board has been very proactive to make sure from a reliability standpoint and even from like a regulatory standpoint that the regulations are changing every year. There's more testing that has to get done. Instruments, either wear out or they become no longer, a valid testing method for EPA and whatnot. So that's kind of ongoing, and it will always be ongoing. The bones of the treatment plant, I think, are in really good shape. Capacity-wise, we're always looking for another big filter, right, that we can put in there at the right price. But, right now, I think the plant's in good shape. Over time, since the 2014 rate increase, Rolando mentioned, the original intent was to start replacing pipelines. The pipelines, frankly, are your biggest asset that you have in terms of replacement cost. There's nearly 15 miles of that, and a lot of it's in county roads. It's expensive to dig that stuff up, replace it, services, hydrants, and stuff like that. So the initial concept in 2014 was, hey, let's start down that road. If you don't, infrastructure is going to wear out, and if you do it over time, it's much more palatable than having a failed system. PG&E, that's a failed infrastructure system, right? Money wasn't reinvested into the infrastructure, and as a result, they have to play catch up. I think to date, the board on the treatment plant has done a very good job. Where we need to out on the reservoir, we're doing what we can now on that. But our pipes are like 60 years old at this point. And
what are the pipes made of?
Good question. So the majority of it is made up, and I'll have a quick little photo of asbestos concrete pipe. And asbestos concrete pipe, it was very common in the 70s and 80s. It was It's safe from a drinking water perspective. When we handle it, like when we cut into it, when we do work, there's special precautions. We can't just take it and throw it in the dumpster. It's got to go to a special facility when it gets disposed of. But one of the problems with asbestos concrete pipe is it's got asbestos in it, right? So it's a fiber with a cementatious matrix around it. So it's like concrete, but there's no rock. There's asbestos in it. And over time, it does become saturated. The water starts to penetrate it, and it softens up. Unfortunately, back in the 60s and the 70s, the good old days, right, when they put pipe in, and I got a great photo, they didn't put it in the way it's put in now with good bedding, nice soft. They kind of dug the trench, threw the pipe in, and buried it, right? So some of the major failures that we've had up here have been older. As the pipe ages, it gets old, it's set on a rock or something, some settlement, and when it breaks, unfortunately, it really breaks. It lets, because it's so brittle. So treatment plant, I think, is in really good shape. Storage reservoir is being addressed. What's really driving the rate increase is this need to start addressing the pipe network, right? We can do the best job of treating it and storing it, but if it can't get to the homes, what do we do? Or if it's unreliable and we have breaks on a more consistent basis, and over time, you can already see we're having more hydrant issues, we're having more service line issues, the mains are going to continue to break, so we need to start thinking about that now and getting ahead of it. Say, if we have an 80 to 100-year life in those pipes, you start now and you can start the process instead of waiting until it fails. So as part of that, the storage reservoir is underway, it's under design right now. Yep. And there was well, there's AC pipe right there. Those blue collars, that was a break over by Kenneth in Virginia. We had to cut a T out. So it's kind of that tan looking material. You can see what it was put in. They just buried it right on the almost bedrock in some areas out here. So anyhow, everything's been paid, kind of pay as you go to date, except for one project, which increased the, it was called the Gale Loop project, but you as residents didn't have to pay for that. That was for the people that benefited directly from that. That's what that loan was for. So there's no debt on the district. Covered that. Next slide.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Is that same pipe used for the fire hydrants?
Yes, the fire hydrant laterals, the existing laterals are generally asbestos concrete pipe. New pipe that goes in is either, it's PVC, it's C900 plastic pipe, or it's ductile iron are the two new standards that new pipe is going in. This is a hydromatic tank. The upper is the old, the new is the one that replaced it. That was done just about 2 years ago. That services about 120 homes up on the top. The upper, I don't know when that was built. Unfortunately, it's got lead paint, so that's another issue, trying to get rid of it. But that was new, that was all done, on a cash basis. Can you tell me what it's for? Yeah, I'm trying to hurry now. So that's a 5,000 gallon tank, and up in the upper zone, the folks that live near the reservoir, you don't have a lot of pressure in the system because you're right near where the water supply is. So in order to make sure you have pressure when you turn your faucets on, there's a pump station. And that pump station pumps into that tank, and it's half full of air and it's half full of water. So it's like a big spring in there, right? So it pumps up to a pressure, the pumps turn off. The air that's in there pushes the water out when you all use your water. And then as soon as the pressure drops to 40 PSI, the pumps come back on, it pushes it back up. So it's critical, it's absolutely critical to supply that upper zone properly. The old one leaked both water and air. It was kind of a mess. This is that sedimentation basin I showed you from that aerial. Going down, the old redwood baffles, thank you, had rotted out, and it was time to replace them. And what that does is the dirty water comes in, we add chemical to it, we create what are called flock. They're like little snowflakes, and the idea is nice quiescent flow. They drop down to the bottom, comes around, and it's much cleaner than when it came in. Pump it through the filters into the reservoir, and there's your water. Without having the sedimentation basin operating properly, it short circuits, and then you get all that dirty water on the filters, which prevents a good filter. Distribution, this I think is more some good conversation. That middle one there is a hydrant. We're having more and more hydrant problems as of late, and making it worse. There's Pacific States was one of the main hydrants that went in. They've been out of business for a long time. It's very difficult to get parts for them now, so we're to the point now where a lot of those, we just have to go in and replace the whole hydrant. As part of main replacement projects, not only will there be more hydrants at shorter distances, there'll be new hydrants. Every year we go through, we maintain them, we keep records on them, we make sure that they're working properly. That PRV station over there on the left, that was rebuilt 2 years ago. We live in the hills, right? So the people up by the reservoir don't have any pressure. The people who live down in Northgate get blown out of their houses because there's so much, it's almost 200 PSI right there. So to manage the pressure in the system, that PR station, that was all rebuilt. A GIS mapping database. So this was done in conjunction with the company that Georgette's working for. It's a mapping system. This was done on a grant from Placer County Water Agency, and it's a great tool from an operations perspective. There's a mobile version that operators can see out, and where's that? I know there's a valve up here at Lauren. Oh, it's on that side of the street. They can pull it open and find it remotely without having to have paper maps. And it was also used as part of the CIP program, trying to figure out, what do we do? What are the most important pipes? Like those yellow pipes are super important. If they fail, if Stanley fails anywhere between here and Northgate, Barbara, Kenneth, Florence, everybody's out of water, right? So we used it, it's kind of like that, and to then look at the age, the replacement cost, and develop, a project list to come up with capital cost estimates. Oh, okay, this was a great one. So this is up at the pump station. Again, over 100 homes rely on water from that pump station. Early in the spring, it was clear that there's issues with PG&E. So the board, we all talked about this, man. We used to use a generator that, so I own a water system too, right? I have 2 generators. You hardly ever need 2 generators, right? And these are big generators.